Okay, hi everyone. I've not done a video in quite a long time now, so if you do hear any background noise, I have got two little puppies now. Um, Everything's changed, kind of got a new relationship, much happier with everything. The lighting is mad. I've got one of the ring lights on, and I have finished work, so I do probably look really scruffy, but it's just a bit of a video of an experience that I've had. As you can tell by the title, I have recently had a miscarriage, and I just thought I'd do a video because when I had the miscarriage, I went through a procedure, and when I went and had a little look on YouTube, it didn't really have much of an explanation of the procedure that I went through. And it's just a little bit about my story. I feel like it's something some people can sometimes watch afterwards if they're having a miscarriage or they've had one and sometimes relate to. So I'm always here to message if anybody needs me. I'm such like an open book with people. So around the start of December 2021, I found out I was pregnant with my partner now that I am actually engaged with. So we're really happy. I'm in such a lovely relationship. Not that any of my other relationships haven't been lovely, but this one is just, you know, when you know. Um, so yeah, we'd got together August time, and we fell pregnant quite quickly. He knew how certain I was about having a baby. He was quite happy for that sort of life. Obviously, different opinions matter. You might decide, oh, that's too early, or whatever you decide. But we knew we were ready. So we fell pregnant really quickly, and it was amazing. I just remember being like doing a pregnancy test, and it was on the side in the bathroom. And I went downstairs, and I forgot all about it because I've done so many tests now, and they've always been negative, and it just breaks my heart. So I went downstairs, started making dinner or something, and then I shouted up and I was like, "Oh, Luke, like, can you have just a quick check of that test?" And he went, "Oh, it's negative." And I was like, "All right, okay, no problem, that's fine." So I come up to go get the test and look at it, and I was like, "That is not negative." There was a second line, and I was like, "Oh my God." Um, I started getting like so excited, and I just started crying, and I was like, I could not believe that I was finally seeing a positive pregnancy test. With my ex, I found that I fell pregnant, and then I'd do another test like a couple of days later, and it'd be negative, and I was just having really a load of early miscarriages, which ended up in hospital with one of them for thinking I had a cardiac arrest, and it turned out I just had an infection because the whole baby hadn't come away. So I was like, I couldn't believe it. So the day after I got a clear balloon, it came back 1 to 2 weeks, and it was just like the most amazing thing ever. Got to 6 weeks, 4 days, ended up in hospital with hyperemesis, and that's just like a really bad morning sickness. I was in overnight on two drips. Came out, the baby was measuring 5.2 millimeters at that time, so baby was, you know, and we had a little heartbeat. So I was 6 weeks, 4 days, and I couldn't believe there was a heartbeat at 6 weeks, 4 days. I assumed there was when they were born anyway, like not when they were developed. I don't know why I thought the heart started first and it doesn't. So anyway, they seen the heartbeat and it was amazing. And then got to 11 weeks and 5 days, and I went for a private scan. When I went there, she said the baby was kicking, baby was fine. There was two pairs of arms and legs, so the possible twins. It was just amazing. Then we went for the 12-week scan 2 days after, find out the baby had died 3 weeks prior. So I am currently going through a police CQC and trading standards at the moment because that scan wasn't actually my baby. It turns out it was somebody else's baby. So that's another story, but we won't get into that because it's too raw at the moment. So it turns out my baby had died. But it was actually going to be my birthday 2 days later, so I found this out on the 1st of February. So I was given options, so I could either go home for a few days and on the Friday come back in, so that would have been around the 5th of February or the 4th, I think it was the 4th, and take my first tablet. So I went in at 5 o'clock and I had to take a tablet. So I decided to do it where I went through the medication route. So you would go in for the medication. When you've had the medication, the baby would come away quite easily. Went in on so we'll say the Friday. It was Friday anyway, I know it was. Went in on the Friday, took the first tablet, came home. They said something might happen, not sure it would, but in the next morning you're in at 9 a.m. So I was like, that's fine, okay. Went home, spent the rest of the day just chilling with my partner, watching movies, just trying to be happy and like love each other, you know, try and make each other happy and out of the situation we had. Following day, went in with my hospital bag, so I took some like pajamas and stuff, assuming I would only maybe be in for one night at the most. Went in, started taking these tablets, so we had to take 4 on the morning, and then I believe, I don't know if I'm right here, but there was either another 4 a couple of hours later or another 2. I can't remember for the life of me how it worked. But you took 4 to start with, and I remember going through all the forms with the lady, but nothing was obviously explained about pain. So I wasn't sure, obviously, when it comes to this happening, what happens in terms of pain and things. So I took these tablets, and then within about 20 minutes I had contractions, and I didn't know you had contractions. I don't know why I didn't click on that when you take these tablets it brings you on with labour. Now, to me, I've never felt anything like that in my life, and I can completely understand when people say contractions are like a really bad pain, but normally you have something out of it at the end. I didn't, so I had nothing to look forward to, so I couldn't even bear it. It was just like I had all this pain and I just wanted it to be over with. So I started getting these pains, and it was quite painful, so I'd give it maybe half an hour, and I was fighting it, and the nurse come back and she said, "Are you alright?" I said, "Honestly," I said, "I'm going to be honest with you. I've been to the toilet 4 times being sick. Really bad." So she gave me an injection for anti-sickness. Did she? No, she didn't. She gave me tablets, anti-sickness and diarrhea tablets in case, because they can have effect. Then she also gave me pethidine in my leg. So she said, "Are you really struggling?" I said, "Honestly, I've never been in so much pain in my life." So she injected my leg with pethidine. But what they said is, half the time nobody needs pethidine. It doesn't hurt that much. For me, unfortunately, I was in a lot of pain. So I had pethidine in my leg. The procedure happened again. So later on in the day, same again. Tablets, more tablets. For pain. So I think I had codeine at that point, because obviously I could only have 1 pethidine. And then they opened up my cervix to have a little look and see how far dilated I was. So it was a little bit like when you have a smear test. So they just insert the speculum, I think it's called, and has a little look with a swab, and they said, "You're only 1 centimetre dilated." And I was thinking, how do people get to 10 centimetres dilated? But then again, saying that, you've got something coming out of it, and by the time you're actually 1 centimetre dilated, you're bouncing on a ball, or you're breathing heavier, or you've got something on focus and mind, whereas I didn't. I was laid in a hospital bed just waiting for my baby to come away, which was the most frightening thing I've ever been through in my life. So then the next morning woke up and the same thing happened again. So 4 tablets, really bad pain, injection again, whatever else. So they said for the rest of the day, just sort of stay in bed. At this point I was bleeding and clotting quite a lot as well, so that was a little bit scary because I didn't understand, but it was a little bit like just a period for me, so I was like, right, okay, that's fine. I had to keep going, like weaning into bowls and stuff so they could check baby hadn't come away. Baby still hadn't come away. I went to M&S and bought some grapes because I was absolutely craving grapes. It was crazy. Like they're like £3 for a box of grapes, and I was craving them the whole time. So that was just whatever I had to go through with that one. But then they said the plan for the rest of the day is if the baby hadn't come away, then I needed the speculum again. When they checked again, no further on in terms of dilation. And they said, if you're staying in tonight, when you wake up in the morning, we can't give you any more medication, and the surgical team or surgeons would have to come around. So I was like, right, okay. So I was under the impression medication always works, and it doesn't. So the next morning I woke up and 3 surgeons come in the room. Now I'd woke up with tonsillitis, so I do have a bit of a problem. I've got an ongoing problem with my throat anyway, and I get tonsillitis so much. So I'd woke up that morning with tonsillitis, and they come in and started telling me about this procedure they're going to do, and they're going to put me to sleep and take baby away. And as soon as I explained I had tonsillitis, they said, right, we can't do that because we have to put a tube down your throat to help you breathe. Well, to me anyway, if they asked me to do that, I would have gone, absolutely not. Like, I do not want anything down my throat. It scares the life out of me. Anything up my nose or down my throat, it's just, I had a camera done and it scared the life out of me. So I then said, well, what is my other option? And she said there was a way of doing something in terms of a vacuum. And I was like, a vacuum? What do you mean? And she said you would be on gas and air, so you'd have the gas and air pump. And it's like a bit like a vacuum, so without sounding too grim, basically they suck everything from the inside out. And I was like, right, okay, does it cause pain? And she said it does. We won't say it doesn't. It causes pain and discomfort, but not for a long period of time. And I was just kind of like, my option either is to go to sleep, which is something that they couldn't do today because of my tonsillitis, and I'd have to stay in, or to get a vacuum done and I could be home by dinner time, and I was so scared. Like, I was petrified. I cried. I was so scared. I got really argumentative with my partner, and I was just like, nobody cares. I'm in so much pain. Like, I don't know what to do. What is the best option for me? Because what if I'm in pain, and apparently it can affect further pregnancies. So, for example, if it tore anything, it could, they are things they have to read out to you. And I was just like, oh my God. So I said, go ahead, whatever, do that. So they come in and said, right, in about 20 minutes, we're going to take you into the room to do it. And I was like, oh my God. So I started getting ready on the bed, and they said, they come in and said, right, are you ready? And I said, yeah, okay. And then they looked at Luke and said, Luke, are you coming? And I was like, oh, thank God he could come with us. Like, I didn't think he was going to be able to. So we went in this room, and I was sat, and it was just like a normal chair. So like what I'm sat on now, so just like a normal chair with a bit of like a lean back. So imagine like a hospital bed without the thigh part of it on. So your legs were sort of draped over the bed, kind of a thing. So I had to put my leg in stirrups. They're just like these, like where you put your feet. If you can imagine, to put your feet up in the air, you just put them on there, and then they put a cover over me. So they give me the gas and air. Now, I've never had gas and air before in my life, so you can imagine what I was like. If you've ever used it, it's the funniest experience of your life. So they were talking me through it, and I kept saying to them, why do I sound like Yoda? Like, they were laughing. The surgeons had to stop at one point because she was laughing that bad at me. She was just like, I need to concentrate, and I just couldn't stop. Like, I was talking so funny, and I think it was my tonsillitis and the gas and air at the time that just made me go so funny, and I was just laughing at myself. So anyway, I felt her inject me, because she had to inject down there just to keep it frozen and things, and then they used the hoover. Now, I didn't actually feel any pain, so I was expecting pain and discomfort. I never felt pain, and I can honestly put my heart on that if anybody ever goes through the same thing. And if you worry and thinking of pain, honestly, you might be different to me, but I went through a lot of pain to then go through that, and I was waiting for pain, and there was no pain, and I was just like, but there was a point, and I'll try not to get upset about it, there was a point where they started to obviously remove the baby, and they had the ultrasound on at the same time, so they were like scanning round, and I just remember sitting and like looking at my partner and crying, and I was like, they're taking the baby. So that was really hard. So I will say, just remember that you can be upset. It is really hard. Because you've got to think you've gone 12 weeks or however long. I don't want to get upset. However long you've gone for with pregnancy, to then have nothing you could do about it. So that's really hard. But then I felt no pain, and it was kind of like, it was really weird, because I expected to be in so much pain, and I wasn't in any pain at all. It was more, I thanked them afterwards, because I was just like, the way they make you feel in there is like you're the most important person in the room. And it's really hard, because you expect to come out of it with like a better situation, but you can't always. And that's why I'm doing this video, because if anybody ever goes through the same thing as me, in terms of losing a baby and having to go through that type of a procedure, which I know there will be, don't automatically think of the worst and think, I could have done something, or it was my fault, because that's all I did. Like, I literally blame myself 100 times, and I was like, if it worked for me, this baby would be okay. What have I done? What did you do? Like, there's nothing you could have done wrong at all, and honestly, like, even to this day, I still question it. Like, I've not had the results back from the baby, and it was heartbreaking. It was. And then after that, so I'd give birth to the baby, and I asked if I could see the baby, just because I wanted to. And I think some people are different. You have different opinions, so you might not want to see the baby afterwards. You might decide that's not what I want. But for me, it's that closure. So I like to know everything that was happening on the journey. So when the baby was going to Newcastle IVR, when the baby was going to get tested, what would happen afterwards, that kind of thing. So I asked to see the baby, and that was fine, and it wasn't what I thought the baby would look like at all. And it was kind of just like my closure, my thing to do. And then after that, I rang the funeral care. We managed to do a funeral for baby. The little like coffin was so small. But yeah, it was crazy because I never expected anything to be like that. So we never expected to have a funeral. We were just sort of like, a baby has died between 6 weeks and 12 weeks. We don't know when, because the last time I was scanned was 6 weeks 4 days, and the last time I was scanned was 12 weeks 1 day, and the baby had died. But we know the baby had died weeks prior, so we know the baby died between, say, 6 and 10 weeks roughly. We don't know when. They don't know themselves, but we know between 6.4 and 12 weeks the baby died. But they're saying the baby died prior to the, like, weeks before, because when they measured the baby, oh no, the baby was measured at 6 weeks 4 days at 7.4, and at 12 weeks baby was 5.2. So baby had shrunk, so that was it. My measurements were wrong there. So baby had shrunk, so we knew baby had died weeks prior. There's no way that baby could have died within 2 days of me having the scan with the other clinic. This is where the dogs start going back upstairs. They go crazy. So dogs, get down. So that's where we obviously know something had happened there. But we had just such a beautiful service, and obviously our closest family came to that. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this video because I feel like when it come to me doing it and going through it, I don't think there was anybody that I could watch and actually relate to. And I know I've seen a few people doing videos since, and I just feel like not everybody is going through the same thing. So you might go through something that I'm not going to go through, vice versa. But it's sometimes nice to see what somebody else has gone through, and then it might make your decision easier. You could be laid on that hospital bed watching this one day, and then thinking, oh, right, she went through this, so she didn't feel that way, so I might not feel that way. And I really do hope it actually helps, because, as I say, it is the hardest thing that you have to go through. And if you feel like you're supported, can you stop drinking my cup of tea, little lady? It is the hardest thing to go through, and if you feel like you're supported by somebody, that is amazing. So if anybody ever does go through it and feel like they need to reach out or speak to somebody, please do, because honestly, I would speak to anybody. I would talk to anybody about anything in terms of like that. Since then, we have had amazing news. So the week after the baby's funeral, it turns out I conceived again. So I'm now currently 13 weeks pregnant. So thankfully, like literally so quickly after the funeral, so around the 1st of March we had the funeral, quite quickly after that I've fallen pregnant again, and I'm now 13 weeks, and I keep getting scans done. So I have a scan every 2 weeks, because I'm absolutely like, because I've got 4 miscarriages on my system, on the system has been confirmed by the doctors. They are now able to help me a little bit more. They give me medication, so they've put me on a tablet called Cyclogest, which is progesterone, which helps the baby grow. I'm on tablets for hyperemesis again, so I have that again. But baby's doing so much better. On the scans, we've seen baby kicking and waving, and it literally is the most beautiful thing ever. And finally, Luke got to see the baby's heartbeat, because when I went in at 6 weeks 4 days, it was around the time you weren't allowed people to come into hospital with you as well. Especially my hospital, they didn't allow it. Lily, stop drinking my cup of tea. And so he never actually got to see the baby at all alive, which is really quite heartbreaking for Luke as well. But obviously I did. I've got my nose from crying. But this time, obviously, we've both seen baby waving, kicking, heartbeat. It's just been beautiful. So I hope this doesn't upset anybody. It was literally done to show you my story, and if anybody relates to that, you always message. If you're going through it yourself and you need a bit of advice or need a bit of support, I am here. I have to keep looking because this little dog just keeps drinking my cup of tea. She is a nightmare. But yeah, I'm here for anybody, and anybody that needs any questions or anything answered, even if it's generally like, I'm going into the hospital for the miscarriage, what could I take in? Just give me a message, and anything that I can help with, I'm here for you all. And obviously I haven't done a video because I just don't like doing videos anymore. I haven't got the confidence. But if anybody does want another video doing about anything in terms of pregnancy, anything like that, please do message and I will do one. And as again, thank you again for watching. And I do hope everyone's okay and really well. Okay, thank you.